Thank you so much. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you to all your leadership. Have you heard enough speeches? No, of course not. You know what we say in the Senate, everything's been said, but I haven't said it. It is wonderful to be here with all of you today. I want to first of all thank you for your hard work in the 2018 election, where you turned the House of Representatives back into the People's House by helping us to elect Abby and Cindy. Thank you for that. That was incredible work. And we had a pretty good year in Minnesota where I headed up the ticket and won in every single red congressional district. But next door, it was more of an amazing thing. And when people ask me, can Democrats win in the Midwest? Can we win in hard districts? I always give them 4 words: former Governor Scott Walker. All right? We can win in the Midwest. So my story is a Midwest story, and my story is a union story. My grandpa was an iron ore miner. He worked 1,500 feet underground his whole life. He was first a Teamster when his parents were sick. He had to drop out of school when he was in middle school, went to work pulling a wagon, and then spent the rest of the time in those underground mines going 1,500 feet underground every single day. My dad still remembers those caskets in the Catholic Church where they went, and you would never know which family member died last week. The whistle would blow, people would run to the mines to figure out if it was their husband or their dad that was dying. It was unions that changed that. It was unions that changed that. My grandpa and grandma saved money in a coffee can in the basement, and they sent my dad to a 2-year community college up in northern Minnesota. That's why I'm such a big believer in those 1- and 2-year degrees. My mom, and he became a newspaper man, by the way, and a member of the Newspaper Guild. My mom, she grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. She moved to Minnesota because we had strong teachers' unions. At her visitation when she died, I had a picture up of her in one of the first strikes in Minneapolis for the teachers' union. And I stand before you today because of unions. I stand before you today as a granddaughter of a union iron ore miner, as a daughter of a union newspaperman, as a daughter of a union teacher, as the first woman elected to the United States Senate from the state of Minnesota, and a candidate for president of the United States. That is what unions are about. That is what unions are about, this idea that no matter where you come from or who you know, or if you don't even have a lot of money when you're running for office, that you can make it in this country. So a few years ago, my friend Sherrod Brown from Ohio introduced me to this woman. And she told me how she always, one time she saw those words, restore the middle class, on a bumper sticker. And she thought, well, that's nice. And then her husband lost his job, and then she had to work multiple jobs. And finally, she started seeing those words as simply a prayer. So what I say to you, brothers and sisters of the Iowa AFL-CIO, is those words, restore the middle class, they shouldn't be a bumper sticker. They shouldn't be a prayer. We must, in 2020, make them a reality. And that starts with unions. Because when unions are strong, our whole economy is strong. You lift up the fortunes of all workers, and I want to thank you for that. So here's been my experience. When I became the county attorney for Minnesota's biggest county, I did 2 things. One is I looked and I saw that we were spending a lot of money sending legal work outside of our county to private lawyers. I took it back in because I knew we had great AFSCME workers that could do that work. We did it in-house, we saved taxpayers' money, and we got better results for the county. That's what unions are about. And then we had prevailing wage issues all over the state, and so I put a full-time lawyer on prevailing wage. And we didn't just get better results for workers in our state and for those contracts, those government contracts, we got better results all across the state. So here's some of my ideas as we go forward. Number 1, we should never hold our federal employees and the employees of federal contractors hostage for political gain. That is what this administration has done. They have held these federal workers hostage. We know that in the shutdown. And after Iowa Supreme Court's decision, we have to stand up for full collective bargaining rights for all public sector employees. We have to pass a law because of what the guys have been doing, what they've been doing across the country to make it clear that no one can take away your right to negotiate for fair wages and fair working conditions. And when it comes to trade agreements and infrastructure discussions, the working people represented by the unions will have a strong voice and a seat at the table in my administration. Because economic strength and stability only comes when there is shared prosperity, when we have strong worker protections in place, and when, as my mentor, Senator Paul Wellstone, who we miss every day in Minnesota, said, we all do better when we all do better. So I am someone that tells the truth. I look people in the eye and I tell them the truth. They don't always like to hear it, but that's me. Right now, we have a guy in the White House that doesn't do that. He has made, at last count, 10,200-something broken promises. And that has started with the promises that he's made about this economy. You know, I figure because of your work and the work of some of our businesses and other people, he inherited a stable economy coming out of that downturn. So what does he do? He gloats about it, says how great it is, instead of meeting the challenges of our time. We need to meet the challenges of our time. So first of all, we have to look out for workers. I made that point. We have to make sure there's true shared prosperity. That means bringing down the cost of prescription drugs for everyone in this country. He went on Fox News after he got elected and he said he would bring down the cost of pharmaceuticals so fast it would make your head spin. Well, it has made our head spin because for over 2,000 of them, they've gone up in multiple digits. He has made us promises on infrastructure, jobs for all of you, but he has never delivered that big infrastructure project. Look what it means in Iowa. It means investing in stormwater systems across the state. It means improving roads like the one to the airport. It means strengthening our Iowa levees. So instead of just talking about it, we have to act, because otherwise what he's given us is an economic plan when it comes to real people and real workers that, as they're saying they always say at the State Fair of Minnesota, where I'm going tomorrow, it's all foam and no beer, all right? That is what he has done. So that's what do we need to remedy this? Well, we need a real leader who's going to make promises and keep them. We need a president, and I will do this, who will strengthen the National Labor Relations Act. We must stop the attack on unions and roll back the right-to-work laws across this country. And we must make it easier, not harder, for workers to form unions. I will stand with you, and I want to make you think about this because you are the ambassadors to so many of those workers out there, some of whom voted for Donald Trump. First of all, he's putting in these judges, and you have to explain this to them, because I know you can, because you get it. You have to explain to them that he's put in judges that have given us decisions like the Janus decision. And I can tell you I will put in judges that understand the law, that respect the law, and will not make decisions to weaken our unions. This president has stood with his wealthy friends. Me, I will stand with you. This president has put his cronies in positions of power. I will bring decency back to our government. He is talking about everything every day that has nothing to do with these promises that he's made to our workers. While I'm talking about infrastructure and putting a plan out there with deadlines, what is he talking about? Buying Greenland and somehow pissing off the entire country of Denmark. That's not easy to do. As I said the other day, do you know the difference between Donald Trump and Greenland? Greenland is not for sale. We need someone. By the way, this is how you beat this guy, okay? You beat him by having an optimistic economic agenda for this country like you have, like we have. You do that. You beat him by standing up and protecting us and making sure that we're making our views clear, but sometimes you just ignore him. But you also beat him by showing how absurd the things he says and by being able to have the presence of mind to do it when it happens. When I announced in the middle of that snowstorm, he made fun of me and he gave me a nickname. He called me Snow Woman. So I wrote back, Mr. President, I'd like to see how your hair would fare in a blizzard. This guy has been governing with fear. He's afraid of unions. He's afraid of having people have equal opportunity at the table. He's afraid of science. He's afraid of equal rights. We are not afraid, right? You are not afraid in Iowa. We are not afraid in Minnesota. We know that we can go forward with optimism about our future, resting on the strength of our workers, and not go forward with fear, but with a fierce belief in the United States of America. That is how we win this. Thank you, AFL-CIO.